Okay, good morning, and welcome to the Lancaster County Board of Commissioners meeting. We appreciate your attendance, and for the viewers, thank you for tuning in. For introductions, on my left is Commissioner Deb Shore and Commissioner Todd Wilchin, and on my right is Vice Chair Commissioner Larry Hopkins and Commissioner Bill Avery. I am Commissioner Roma Amundson, and I am the chair of the board. So will you all please join me now in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And Mr. Clerk, will you begin the agenda, please?
Nebraska Open Meetings Act is located on the wall at the rear of the hearing room. Additionally, a copy of all written material to be discussed at today's open meeting is available from the county clerk's staff. The material can also be viewed on the county's website at lancaster.ne.gov. Agenda item 1 are minutes. Approve the minutes of the Board of Commissioners meeting held on Tuesday, June 2nd, 2015.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of the meeting. Are there any corrections or additions? Okay, please call the roll.
Avery?
Yes.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Wilchin?
Yes.
Amundson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 2 are claims. Approval of all claims processed through June 9th, 2015.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the claims. Is there any discussion? Okay, please call the roll.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Wilchin?
Yes.
Avery?
Yes.
Amundson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Next is number 3, special presentations. Recognition of Richard Terrell, painter, printmaker, art exhibit at the County City Building. Richard Terrell.
Well, good morning, and what do you have for us?
Morning. Well, I brought a couple of prints because I have oil paintings out in the hall. I'd like to express my appreciation for the opportunity you're giving artists in the community to show out here. One thing I do other than oil paintings is prints, and so I brought a couple along. This is a little etching. It's of a landscape out near Ansley, Nebraska, where
If you just want to hold it still, they'll zoom in on the camera. Perfect. Okay.
Okay. And I developed it off of a sketching trip with a friend out there. And this is what it looks like when it's on the plate.
Oh, wow.
What you do is you etch, you either engrave or scratch the image directly into the plate, or etch the image in with an acid technique. And then you have to ink that whole plate, wipe it clean, and wherever there's a line or a texture, it holds ink, and then it is pressed out onto the paper through a roller press, which puts a lot of pressure on it, and the image comes out. And it's kind of nice because you can print an edition of these. Some printmakers make very, very big editions. I make very small ones, about 5 or so. But that's an interesting technique. The other thing I've been working with more recently is relief prints. This is a interpretation of an area in England. I say in my statement out in the hall, I like to interpret places I've been, and this is based on some sketches out in Dartmoor National Park in southern and western England. And it's done on a linoleum block, looks like this. And what you do when you work in this medium, you actually carving the light areas into the plate. You're taking the lighter areas out of the material, and then you ink the surface with a roller and ink, and then you can use a press, but for these I just make the transfer with my hand using a Baron and sometimes a wood spoon or something like that that's smooth. And so that's the other aspect of what I do. My oil paintings are out in the hallway. I hope you'll look them over and enjoy them. And if you like something sufficiently enough, I'll be glad to sell it to you.
Yes, Deb?
Mr. Terrell, thank you for being here. What is your background and how did you get started as an artist? And
I attended Illinois Wesleyan University and majored in art there, got to my BFA, and then I went to University of Wisconsin in Madison for graduate school. I taught for 5 years in Illinois before coming out here in 1970 to assume the position at Doane College, when I taught there from 1970 to 2009. So I've been retired since 2009.
Larry?
Yes, sir.
Richard, thank you for sharing with us and sharing your beautiful artwork, but also explaining your process on engraving. Now, you mentioned that first specimen was collected out at Ansley, Nebraska. The district judge for Custer County is my goddaughter and a graduate of Ansley High School. So who is the name of your friend, or where at near Ansley did you find
My friend was, he's passed on now, but his name was Robert Lawrence, and he was a retired art history teacher from New York.
Oh, for goodness sake.
And he would call me quite often because Ansley was not exactly the fine arts center of the world for
You got
him.
that right.
We liked to talk on the phone and use the vocabulary, that we were both. And so I would go out there, and on this particular occasion, he drove and I sketched. And so we stopped at different areas, and there was a part of the road going up to Ansley that just, for some reason, fascinated me, and that's what's in the print here.
Beautiful drive up there. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, Mr. Terrell, thank you so much for coming, and we really do appreciate your work.
Thank you. Thank you.
In the amount of $10,000 to both the Nebraska Sports Council and the Lancaster County Agricultural Society to promote and host closing ceremonies for the 2015 State Games of America and the 2015 Lancaster County Super Fair at the Lancaster Event Center. David Monoric, Nebraska Sports Council. Amy Dickerson, Lancaster County Agricultural Society Managing Director. Julie Latimer, Visitors and Promotion Committee Chair. And Jeff Moll, Lincoln Convention and Visitors Bureau Executive Director.
That was a mouthful. Nailed it. That was kind of nice. That was like we were watching Bob Ross's Joy of Painting a little bit, that we just had that presentation. Might be an idea for Channel 5 in the future to have him do some ideas on how to create artwork. So very educational.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd drop that in there.
you never know what you're going to find when you come to the county board.
Thank you.
We've had tortoises and turtles here, so.
Yes, better experience than when we had him at our office. So I wanted to talk a little bit just quickly to debrief everybody on this process that we have in place for the Visitor Improvement Grant Program. And having Julie's leadership from South Point Pavilions on the VPC, we talked long and hard about the process and what a great process we have for approval and creating Lincoln, Nebraska as a destination. But I think today, what we're going to do is I'll talk a little bit about how we got to where we are with these programs, and then we'll have each individual talk a little bit about their individual grant request from the Event Center, the Cornhusker State Games for State Games of America, and then Abbott Motocross Park. But really for me, as Executive Director of the Convention and Visitors Bureau, this is about a tourism vision. And I can say that with Dave standing behind me, because Dave and I both remember our bid trip to Dallas, Texas, when we were going head-to-head with San Diego, California for the State Games of America. And when you compare the two communities, you seem a little bit intimidated. But I will tell you, having Dave Monerick and his entire staff standing next to me, representing the city of Lincoln, made our life a lot easier. And really, the vision that we created in Dallas is where we are today with the Event Center and the State Games. I talked about a vision that this community has for tourism. I talked about collaboration. And the fact that these two organizations got together on their own, I didn't call them and say, hey, get together because it will sound good on TV. They got together and talked about what can we do to make the State Games of America a memorable experience. What can we do to make the Lancaster County Fair a better experience? That collaboration is what we do better than any other community out there in the state of Nebraska and nationwide. We collaborate, we come together for one vision. So that's a perfect example of those two organizations. And then Craig Fritz with everything at Abbott. Lincoln, Nebraska is starting to gain more attention regionally as far as a destination for motorsports. And every year we take steps forward, and every year Craig has upped the ante, upped the bar with the type of events he's bringing in. So that tourism vision, not a lot of people know about motocross. People think it's not for them. People think it's a rural kind of endeavor. This can happen in Lincoln and Lancaster County. So I appreciate their vision. Give them a chance to talk a little bit about their projects. And then Julie will follow up with the recommendation of the VPC, and we'll see where we go with it. Thank you.
Thanks. The Nebraska Sports Council has been around since 1985, conducting the Cornhusker State Games. The State Games of America is an opportunity that's been on our radar for some time. Got together with Jeff Mall probably sometime around 2010, started talking about a bid to host the event. And as you all now know, we won, and we're getting close. So July 28th through August 2nd, we'll have the State Games of America. As of Monday, yesterday, we had more than 7,000 participants already registered for the event. And just to put it in perspective, last year for the Cornhusker State Games, which is specific to residents, on the same day of an event that happens earlier, which the Cornhusker State Games usually happen earlier than this event, we had about 1,100 people signed up. So people sign up typically pretty late. And we're not sure how the numbers are going to come in, but we're expecting right around 18,000 total participants. Huge opening ceremonies make this thing a festival, but without a closing, it seemed a little bit incomplete. All of the Olympics have those. The State Games of America has never had one. So we're pretty excited to lead the charge in yet another area of this national event. And all of the credit goes to Amy. This was Amy's idea. We have a great county fair, one of the biggest in the country. And the idea of these events falling at the same time frame could seem like competition, but it's actually an enhancement of both events. We have an opportunity to get together here, do a single closing ceremonies, and our participants from wherever they are from will have this kind of urban to rural feel that really caps off the experience of their participation, their travel, their watching these events here in Lincoln. And so it just seemed like such a great idea and was well put together, well structured by Amy. We pitched in where we could to work on the grant. But to me, the Visitors Promotion Committee and the Visitors Improvement Fund couldn't be more properly utilized. We believe that a whole lot of people in the thousands will stay an extra night. We believe that a number in the thousands will be attending the county fair the following day or during the weekend sometime. So I think it's a perfect match, and our hats off to Amy, to the Visitors Promotion Committee, Julie and her team, and to the county board for recognizing the opportunity, and we thank you.
Thank you. And your turn, Amy.
Alrighty. Amy Dickerson from Lancaster Event Center. Dave is very kind. Actually, if I didn't have a partner to talk to me about my crazy idea, we wouldn't be standing here. So he thought out of the box. Never been done it at a state games. Wasn't in the cookbook to do it. And we said, let's take this, one of the largest county fairs in the country, and take advantage of it and really showcase it, give a good reason. There's a lot of things to do in Lincoln and Lancaster County, and we just thought this was a nice headline story to be sure that we told to the visitors and have them come out. And actually, we're upgrading the fair so much this year. It's a great opportunity to show it to a national and regional audience, not just our local Lancaster County and eastern Nebraska, usual 200,000 folks that come out. So we're very, very excited to have this out at Muehlbach Motorsports Complex. We're having fireworks. I understand we haven't done that in a while. With this rain, it shouldn't be a fire hazard, right? So we're planning on having a special commemorative medal that they only get, the champions from 4-H and from state games that come to the ceremony. It'll have both logos on it. It'll be a keepsake that they won't get anywhere else, as well as we're working with sponsors and getting some other fun giveaways. And there's so much free going on at the fair, so they can come out and see the free attractions and join the carnival, et cetera, et cetera. So we're doing marketing together in terms of press releases and website and emails and all the good things. And what a neat opportunity. My biggest challenge right now is figuring out the logistics on this parade of champions. So how do you get the winning reserve champion cow and the winning soccer king, but my goal is to get them mixing and mingling and meeting each other. And so it should be a pretty unique, fun event, and we'll make sure and get everybody out. So thank you so much for your support. Our goal is to get thousands of people to stay longer in Lancaster County and come away with a much better impression, right? So hopefully we can get these state games again. So
Maybe you could do it alphabetically. You could have the sheep and then the soccer players and then the swimmers and then, followed by the
good as
tea,
anything, right? Yes. Yes.
Having done the Star City Holiday Parade, I might be able to help you with that.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah, I think this is a great opportunity to showcase how people work together, how the synergy comes in. Larry, you wanted to say something?
Well, Amy and David, both of you work with volunteers, and both of you have to keep them energized, and they're key to your operations. Dave, it's just been great to be a part of the state games and all the work that you've done to carry them on and make them bigger and better. Amy, a great idea. The idea that you can form a partnership, it's going to be good for both of you. This is an excellent example of cooperation, and thank you both for being willing to move forward with it.
Todd?
I just want to kind of echo what Larry was talking about, because I was at the Ag Society meeting early on when Amy had proposed this idea to her board, and there were a few people who doubted her vision, and they should not have, because I think this is a great opportunity for Lincoln and Lancaster County to show how unique a community we have, where we can combine both the urban and the rural, and show how and actually display how we can work together and live in a great community. So Amy is really modest when she talks about her role in this, because without her vision and her and her fortitude, I don't know if this would have become a reality.
It's a pretty easy story to tell. We have some great things to be proud about here. We just need to tell that story with all these visitors in town.
Exactly right.
You got it.
Is this $10,000 going to be enough? Are you using it for seed money?
It's two $10,000 grants. One to Nebraska Sports Council, because they'll be taking the brunt of getting that word out to those visitors and talking them into staying longer, because we got to, of course, most of them will decide ahead of time. And so it's out on the website. Dave's doing emails and social media and all that kind of thing. And then our $10,000 will be going to add that additional attraction to an existing attraction at the fair. So adding the fireworks, adding that commemorative medal, some other operating expenses like that. So that's how it goes.
You'll have enough money.
I believe so. We're also getting sponsors on both sides. So yeah, trying to make good use of those funds. Thank you for asking.
Okay, well, thank you, Ann.
On behalf of the BPC, I'm actually going to clarify the funding requests and what we are recommending. First of all, there is a funding request by the Lancaster County Agricultural Society funding for $10,000 for an official closing ceremony for 4-H and FFA exhibitors and the State Games of America participants at the Lancaster County Fair. So this funding request of $10,000 is to support the actual event. So it would be state games participants, family, and fans invited to the Super Fair to be recognized with the 4-H and FFA competitors on August 2nd, including an 8:30 p.m. fireworks at 9:30. So this first funding request is for $10,000. And the VPC is recommending approval of that request.
Based upon that recommendation, I move we approve the grant request in the amount of $10,000.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve this grant request for $10,000. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Wilchin,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Amundson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
The second funding request is by the Nebraska Sports Council for $10,000. This would be used for the promotion and advertising costs associated with this activity. Our committee considered that an official closing event would be very positive for the State Games of America and enhance the 2019 RFP coming out after this summer for the State Games of America again in Lincoln. The State Games are projected to attract up to 60,000 athletes, family and friends, including 8,000 from outside of the state. 20 to 30% of them are staying in Lincoln and are interested in additional activities to do here while they're here in the county. The State Games of America volunteers would be allowed to attend the closing ceremonies for free, thereby freeing up some of their own income so that they could use additional funding to do activities at the fair. So we also clarified that if the facilities are deemed adequate, that this money can be used for marketing, including medals and fireworks. So we, the county board will be listed as a silver level sponsor. And so therefore we recommend that the facilities have been deemed adequate and improvement funds of $10,000 be granted to the Lancaster Ag Society, which you've already approved, and to the, to the Nebraska Sports Council to do proactive marketing to keep the participants in Lincoln beyond the scope of the state games.
Based upon that recommendation, I move we allocate the $10,000 for promotional activities as outlined.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we grant this request for $10,000 to the Nebraska Sports Council. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Hudkins,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Wilchin,
Yes.
Amundson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Special presentation C, Lancaster County Visitor Improvement Fund Grant in amount of $150,000 to the Abbott Motocross Sports Park for improvements to the Abbott Motocross. Craig Fritz, Director of the Sports Complex, and Julie Latimer, Visitors Promotion Committee Chair, and Jeff Mall, Lincoln Convention and Visitors Bureau Executive Director.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Craig with Abbott Motocross Park. Just want to give you a little background on the Abbott Motocross Park. It opened in October of 2011. We're open 5 days a week for open recreational riding for ATV and motorcycle users. And then we also hold about half a dozen competitive events throughout the year. Both areas of these operations attract people from all over the Midwest. It really is a tourist destination for the off-road enthusiasts. Since October of 2011, we've made a lot of improvements to the facility and the riding surface on the tracks itself to make it one of the premier riding areas in the Midwest. And with the help of this grant project, we think we can get the amenities in place to attract larger national level events, and which will in turn bring in thousands more people from all across the nation. And we think there's not a greater place in America to be than right here in Lincoln, and we're very fortunate to have our motocross park located so close to this city in Lancaster County. And then just wanted to touch base a little bit on the actual improvements, what they're going for and what's going to be accomplished with that. We want to put in permanent fencing to make the park a safer place and control traffic flow. We also want to get in a permanent building, and then add a entryway, so we have separate entry and exit lanes and a ticket booth that helps control these larger events.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, Craig, has it dried out up there?
It's starting to. The sun's shining is helping, but looks like there's more coming later this week.
Yeah. Okay, Todd.
Craig, I just want to make a point, and you kind of mentioned it, but I think it's important for people to understand that the fencing and the permanent structure is a requirement to attract some of the regional races that would draw more people to the community.
Yes, that is correct. We have spoke with some of the national and regional organizations, and we have the space. We have a lot of good amenities that they look for in these type of facilities to host their events, and the permanent fencing and the widening the entryway and the office building. All three of those are key components to bringing in those larger events.
Well, we did have the opportunity to go out there, and I would agree with you that you need a better structure for your permanent structure. We've talked about partnerships this morning. Do you want to talk about Lincoln Public Schools and your ability to obtain that permanent location?
Yes, yep. First, Abbott Motocross Park is part of the Abbott Sports Complex, so there's a great partnership there, and also through that has opened up some more avenues of partnerships. One of those is with Lincoln Public Schools. As some of you may know, they used to, when they remodeled their elementary schools, they'd ship them out to Abbott, and they had a portable classroom set up out there. They have donated us one of those portable structures that we can move over to the motocross track and get it remodeled and set to fit our needs, and we think it's a great opportunity to be resourceful and recycle some of those materials.
Okay. Okay, Julie?
Certainly, if you don't mind, I'd like to clarify several of the points that the VPC considered in reviewing this request. In addition to those things that Craig discussed, we also recognize that this project provides a training track for local kids, but more importantly, because this funding is based on tourism, we asked the group to clarify what a region is as they work to attract additional events to the facility. The region covers tracks in Wichita, Kansas, and Garwin, Iowa, plus additional communities in Wisconsin, Illinois, and Minnesota. But there are no other tracks like this in Nebraska that can host such events. We also considered that, per their commitment to the Trails Foundation, this group is obligated to operate the track for 20 years. While the buildings and infrastructure at Abbott are aging, the complex as a whole is very stable and funded through the Ethel Abbott Foundation, so we looked at the long-term ramifications as well. Historically, your group has funded smaller grants to this group. We've been very impressed at their volunteer willingness to provide an inordinate amount of their own money and time to improve the facility. And they've already committed as a part of this project to fund shade tree and landscape installation, a bike wash station, and additional spectator bleachers, which will help with the larger events. And rocked access roads and walkways, so they've committed to that. Finally, we believe that proximity to I-80 is a huge draw, and that will help this group as they go forward in bidding on regional and national events. Finally, we asked for clarification. As always, we look at what it is the proclivity for heads and beds. And so we looked at estimated hotel rooms. And if improvements are in place, they believe they have a huge chance, an inordinately huge chance, to get a regional or national event in 2016 with an estimated 300 to 350 room nights in hotels. So that's imperative that they get that first event in, because that then will give them the opportunity to go after additional events as well. Based on past events, they estimate 600 room nights times the recommended $375 multiplier. So in economic impact, there's a strong chance that they will total $225,000 in increased economic impact. So finally, we recommend funding $150,000 to be spent on phases 1, 2, and 4. Those are the items that are specific to bidding on national events. And we encourage the group to get additional bids and other donations to offset the difference in cost from their original $221,196 ask. Thank you.
Todd?
Julie, just one quick question about the economic impact that you mentioned, the $225,000.
Yes.
Over what period or what time frame is that based on?
That would typically be an annual.
Right. So this is a return on investment within a year.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Based on Julie's recommendation, I would move that we approve this application.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this improvement fund grant. And so is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Avery?
Yes.
Wilchin?
Yes.
Shore?
Yes.
Amundson?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
All right, Craig, next time you come back, you promised you'd bring your son and the trophy, so next time.
We would like to see that.
We need to get you guys to reschedule for another invite back out there when it's not raining too.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Number 4 is a public hearing increase of appropriations for the Workers' Compensation Loss Fund in the amount of $100,000 due to a settlement made by the county. An increase of appropriations for the Mental Health Fund in the amount of $100,000 due to the timing of transition costs and an increased unemployment compensation cost.
Okay, and this is a public hearing. We will now open this public hearing to have people speak in support of this.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Dennis Meyer, Lancaster County Budget and Fiscal Officer. You know, with Craig being here from Abbott, you know, the one thing, Deb, we might want to think about this year is the picture of the county board that's on the county budget.
Yes.
Maybe you guys need to be out at Abbott on some
bikes.
Yeah, some motocross bikes. So just something to think about. So we'll wait and see how it goes. But
Craig, do you have a three-wheeler?
anyway, today, public hearing is really to amend two of the county funds. If you remember, when we go through the budget process, we hold a public hearing, we adopt the budget, and then we operate throughout the fiscal year. The statute does require that if there is any funds that need to be amended prior to the end of the fiscal year, we've got to jump through really that same process. Publish, hold a hearing, and then re-adopt those numbers. So today, this public hearing is for the Workers' Compensation Loss Fund as well as the Mental Health Fund. And on both of those funds, we really need to increase appropriations by $100,000 for each of those funds. On the Workers' Compensation Loss Fund, it's really come because of really one of the large settlements that we had through, during the fiscal year. We settled on a $345,000 settlement, which therefore reduced our cash balance, as well as causes us issues with our spending authority. And so what this $100,000 would do is really make a transfer from our general fund to give us the $100,000 to finish out this fiscal year. On the mental health fund, that one is a little bit different because on the mental health fund, we have the cash flow there, we just don't have the spending authority. So the reason that you have to amend is to make sure you have spending authority. We had some unemployment compensation costs that were a little bit higher than projected because we got out of the mental health center business, had some costs there for some former employees that we had to pick up. So we really just need to increase that spending authority within that fund because, like I said, we've got the money sitting there. We just don't have the spending authority. So that's kind of the difference between those two funds on what we're trying to do there.
Any questions?
Okay.
Is there anyone to speak in opposition to this action? Is there anyone willing to speak or wanting to speak in a neutral position? If not, I will close the public hearing and let's proceed then.
Under new business, resolution in matter of supplementing appropriations for the previously adopted budget for the Workers' Compensation Loss Fund in the amount of $100,000 and the Mental Health Fund in the amount of $100,000.
I move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this resolution. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Hudgens,
Yes.
Amundson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 5B is an amusement license renewal application from Josh Cadavy to operate JK's Pumpkin Patch, 757 Bluff Road, Lincoln, from September 18th to October 31st, 2015, and December 5th, 6th, 12th, 13th, 19th, 20th, 2015.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this amusement license renewal from Josh Cadavy. He's done this for several years. Is there any discussion?
I would like to hear from legal counsel about the
Oh, yeah.
insurance.
Brittany Barron's Deputy Lancaster County Attorney. Mr. Cadavy originally made the amusement license application back in 2011, and at that time, the board was statutorily required to hold a public hearing, and the board has previously passed requirements with regard to insurance limitations on amusement license applications that has a $5 million aggregate limit on liability insurance. back in 2011, Mr. Cadavy came in and said that it was not feasible economically for him to procure the limit of $5 million in general liability insurance, and requested the board to reduce the liability insurance requirement to a minimum of $1 million. At that time, we had a lengthy discussion about the risks of Mr. Cadavy operating the pumpkin patch and related activities under the amusement license, and the liability implications to the county. And obviously, it is always our recommendation to the board to cover yourself to the maximum extent possible. With that said, obviously there's always a balancing act, and at that time, the board made a recommendation and voted to approve a reduced limit of liability with a minimum coverage of $2 million. Every year since, Mr. Cadavy has come in and made a request to reduce that liability insurance minimum limit from $5 million aggregate to $2 million. And every year since 2011, the board has approved that. The biggest concern that the county attorney's office expressed at the time was traffic concerns, and that's probably the biggest exposure possibility to the county is increased traffic, potential accidents. I know that, I don't think Mr. Cadavy's here today, but he has complied with all of the requests from the county engineer. They had extensive requests with regard to driveway and parking, and he has complied historically with all of those requests, and those requests continue to be in place. I do not think, and the clerk's office can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think Mr. Cadavy submitted a request for the reduced insurance specifically this year, but his application historically has always had that request. So I'm assuming that the board would be approving the renewal under the same terms and conditions as his original application, which would be with the minimum general liability, $2 million.
That was the intent of the maker of the motion, to redo it under the terms of last year.
Okay.
I think there might have been a misunderstanding. He was in the audience last week, and I do not see him today, so I don't know if what the circumstances are. But has he talked to you, or has your office contacted him about this?
Our office doesn't send out those communications. The clerk's office would have sent him notice that it was on the agenda. There's no reason for him to, he's not statutorily required to be here, and it's not required legally for us to conduct a public hearing. So the renewal application is simply put on and doesn't need any of the procedure other than simple, approval or denial by the board.
The renewal, is it for, as written, is it for $2 million or $1 million?
There wasn't any specific language in his renewal application requesting the $2 million, but the board could make the motion to approve it under the same terms and conditions as his original application.
I would accept a friendly amendment to do that, or make a friendly amendment that we do clarify and make it the usual and customary $2 million.
Bill?
I wanted to know if we consulted the risk management office, and what did they tell us?
Yep, back in, I think it was either March or May of 2011, we had Sue Eckley come down and talk with the board about the potential exposure, and I think the minutes from the meeting essentially were that the traffic component was probably the largest potential exposure to the county, and that, obviously a traffic accident can produce very large exposure to the county, but that the applicant had complied with all of the county engineer's traffic, parking requests, and that there wasn't any additional areas that Sue Eckley felt, offered great exposure to the county. So the general recommendation and the county board's amusement license application policy requires a $5 million aggregate limit, but there are obviously different scenarios that cause the board to approve different reductions in those limits.
Are there officers out there to direct traffic?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so that there are continuous events and activities over a kind of extended period of time, and so I don't think that this was something that was similar to a road race where it was a one-day event that where the sheriff's office had made recommendations. That's not included in the recommendations from either the county engineer or the sheriff's office, as it is a continuing event over a period of time.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, I did jump ahead. Okay. Do we have a second for the friendly amendment?
Or with the seconder of the
Or with the
motion,
seconder of the
concur
motion.
with
Was it me?
clarification.
Was it me? Who?
Would you restate your motion?
Yeah. Who was the seconder previously?
Okay. So would you restate the motion?
Well, I just moved approval of the motion, and then I said, in further clarification, I would accept a friendly amendment to say 2 million, which is the amount that has been in place.
I would accept that.
So, it's been moved and seconded that we approve this renewal application with a insurance limit of 2 million. And is there any further discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Wilchin,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. New business 5F is an agreement with the Nebraska Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired for the Lancaster County Records Management Department to serve as a training site. The term of the agreement is June 1st, 2015 through August 31st, 2015.
Where is that?
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this agreement with the Nebraska Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired to work in the Records Management Department. Any discussion? Okay, please call the roll.
Avery,
Yes.
Wilchin,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Amundson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. G is a grant contract addendum amending County Contract C-13-84 between Lancaster County and the Lancaster County Agricultural Society. The addendum amends the scope of the work performed under Phase 4 scheduled for 2015 and Phase 5 scheduled in 2016. All other terms and conditions shall remain in effect.
Okay.
Morning again.
Good morning.
Amy Dickerson, Managing Director, Lancaster Event Center, representing Lancaster County Agricultural Society. We also have our legal counsel, Ellen Wood, with me. So as you may remember, we are completing a 5-year grant with the CBB lodging tax funds that was granted to the Lancaster Event Center. So when I came in last year, we were in the middle of year 3 of that 5-year grant. So there's 2 years remaining. It's approximately just a little over $400,000 a year, a little bit, about $2.5 million that was approved several years ago by the county board to continue to improve Lancaster Event Center out there so that we can attract more regional and national events to bring in more visitors, which I think is a really good investment. I would say, based on my experience out there, that the amount of utilization of the Lancaster Event Center since this grant started is radically higher. So there are many months of the year where we are sold out at the moment. This year, I don't have a paper copy as I ran out of my office because we've got about 700 to 1,000 horses coming in this week. Starting Thursday morning at 8 a.m. They will be lined up, ready to go for a national barrel race finals that starts Thursday noon and runs through Sunday. So we will be full to the gills, and I'm just hoping that it doesn't rain too much on Thursday because we need every single bit of parking that we've got. So what we're proposing here and asking for the county board's approval is a revision to the last 2 years of this 5-year grant contract. As coming in just a little bit over a year as the managing director out there, as I have assessed things, I've determined that there's some better use of funds based on priorities and talking to customers and talking to staff out there. We also found alternative sources of funds. An example is in the 5th year of the grant, there was about $100,000 that was planned to be spent on landscaping. We need that landscaping, absolutely. But we have since started a partnership with Nebraska State Arboretum, and I believe that we're going to be able to get a lot of that as free plant materials, free volunteer, free plan, that kind of thing, in a partnership with them. So I backed that down to resorting about $25,000 on that. So I'm looking to start that planning process this fall and hope to have a big volunteer event doing major planning. I just talked to the Boy Scouts. They're all anxious to have us be their annual event next year, and we'll invite a lot of other groups out too. So we're excited about getting that going next year. That's one example. Some other allocations that have changed is, if you look at year 4, the very first thing on the list is a lighting upgrade for the parking lot. And I don't think there's anybody here that's been out there at night that would disagree. That was very much needed. So not only will that get it much, much brighter out in the parking lot, but it will start to take our electric costs down, because we're going to LED lighting. So those are the other changes. Fencing was in the plan for year 3. I delayed it because I wanted to think about it and do it right. We're doing it this year, and in fact have gone to sealed bid and are ready to start that in the next couple weeks. So it's there for the fair, and will be a very visible sign to the community that things are relaunching out at the Lancaster Event Center. So there'll be a 3-rail white ranch fence around the 84th and Havelock. And while that looks pretty, we're just not all about looking pretty. It's also about keeping the loose livestock from going across 84th Street, which happens at times, despite our best, and keeping cars from unsafely jumping the curb, trying to come in around lines. So those are some examples of the changes. The other thing that I will tell you is, because we've been so fortunate to work with Bob Walla and the purchasing team and get this e-bid system set up, that we're planning on going above and beyond the original contract requirements, and actually planning on following the very same County Purchasing Act rules in terms of the funds. This is not usually required for the lodging tax funds. I sit on the committee, and it might be 1 or 2 bids, on things. I want to make sure we maximize these funds, and so we're going to go to sealed bid for anything $20,000 and over. For example, like this fencing, like this lighting, and that's saving us tens of thousands of dollars already. And then we'll make sure that we can do some more projects out there, because the list is long. When I came in, I estimated it was probably about $7 million of deferred maintenance and upgrades. And it just, every year it's another $700,000. So these funds are much appreciated. I want you to know that we're putting them to very good use. And so we're proposing a revision to years 4 and 5. It's the very same budget. Mm-hmm. What you have here are estimates. They're not final numbers. They're ballpark, and you'll know that we're going to bid on those following the County Purchasing Act rules. And I'd entertain any questions.
Mm-hmm. Questions? Okay. I think you've been doing a fantastic job out there.
Thank you, Roma. I appreciate everybody's support.
Yeah.
And Roma, I just want to make one comment, and I would agree with Roma. You're doing a fantastic job, and I think this is kind of, I think, will give us an opportunity to renew our interest in 84th and Havelock and the expansion of infrastructure. And I think we as a county board are committed to working with the mayor's office and Public Works to make needed improvements, because it's one thing to make improvements to the event center, but the infrastructure surrounding the event center also needs to be improved as well. So
Agreed.
I look forward to continuing working with Amy and the Ag Society and everyone involved. So thank you.
Continue to work with the city on that. They've been great partners working with us, managing the traffic with the traffic light, with the Lincoln Police Department out there, and we'll continue to work on that. Appreciate everybody's support on that.
Yes, Bill.
Thank you. I'd like to hear from the lawyer. Do you have any, you're in full agreement with this?
I am, and I went over the exhibits that are attached to the addendum, and they all look appropriate. Amy's absolutely correct. The County Purchasing Act will be applied to all of these purchases, which I think is a great step forward with regard to the administration of the funds. I've looked at the addendum. It's in proper form. So from a legal standpoint, I think we are in good shape with regard to reallocating the funds for years 4 and 5.
I thought you ought to earn your fee.
Thank you very much.
Showed up for a reason, Bill. I would move approval of the contract addendum.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this grant contract addendum. Any discussion?
And I will just note for the record that I will be abstaining as Mr. Wood is a law partner with my husband.
And this does not include any request for additional money.
No.
It's just a reuse of existing money.
Reallocation.
Yeah.
Because of cost savings. That's important to know.
Large part, yep.
Okay. Well, please call the roll.
Wilchin,
Yes.
Hudgens,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Shore,
Abstain?
Amundson.
Yes.
Motion carries 4 yes, 1 abstention. H is an amendment to county contract C-12-258 with Safety Clean Systems, Inc. for their used oil collection program. The amendment renews the agreement for an additional 1-year term from May 29, 2015 to May 28, 2016, and provides the parties agree to no charge for oil collection during the renewal term.
I would move approval.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this amendment to the county contract. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Avery,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Hudgens,
Yes.
Wilchin,
Yes.
Amundson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. I is an amendment to county contract C-15-203 with Hanson Construction Company, Inc. for excavating and dozing services for Lancaster County.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we approve this amendment to the county contract. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Hudgens,
Yes.
Wilchin,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Amundson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 5J is an amendment to county contract C-14-628 with Cedars Youth Services, Inc. to provide funding for the day and evening reporting centers. The amendment increases the amount of funding from $140,764 to $146,259.
I will move approval.
I know this is not a lot of money, but is there somebody who could explain?
I might be able to address it. This were
I'll
funds.
second it for discussion.
These are funds that, for the Crime Commission that go for county aid. There were funds left in the pool, and they are allocating them to Cedars to operate our reporting centers. Just a small amount of funds that were left in the grant allocation.
Thank you.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further questions or discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Wilchin,
Yes.
Hudgens,
Yes.
Amundson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. K is an amendment to a contract between New Heights Tree Service, the City of Lincoln, Lancaster County, and the Lincoln-Lancaster County Public Building Commission for the annual requirements of tree trimming and removal services. The amendment renews the original contract for an additional year beginning May 20th, 2015 through May 19th, 2016.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this amendment to a contract. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Avery,
Yes.
Hudgens,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin,
Yes.
Amundson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 5L is a Seventh Amendment to disproportionate share hospital intergovernmental transfer agreement with the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services found at County Contract C-8-151. The amendment renews the agreement for an additional year from July 1st, 2015 to June 30th, 2016.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the Seventh Amendment to the DSH Intergovernmental Transfer Agreement. Any discussion?
Let's hope we get it right after the Seventh Amendment.
Please call the roll.
Hudgens,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Amundson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. M is the appointment of Stan Beater and Brad Roth to the Lancaster County Indigent Defense Advisory Committee for a 3-year term commencing May 20th, 2015.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we approve the appointment of these folks to the Lancaster County Indigent Defense Advisory Committee.
And if
Any
I
discussion?
remember correctly, they're both reappointments, so
They're
we
reappointments?
thank them
Okay.
for their continued service.
Okay. Okay, please call the roll.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Hudkins,
Yes.
Amundson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. 5N is appointment of Mitch Payne to the Lincoln-Lancaster County Air Pollution Advisory Board for a term to expire September 1st, 2017.
Move approval. I know this young man, and I know that he has a long-standing interest in the environment, and has an advanced degree in, I think, environmental studies. He's also a friend of my son.
I'll second this motion, so at least Bill has one ally on the board there.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve this appointment of Mitch Payne. Any discussion?
Just one
Yes.
quick question. This is the mayor's appointment, right? We're just confirming it?
I believe so.
Is that right? That's-
I think it's the health department.
Is it the health department? Do you know?
I don't know, maybe somebody come in.
The joint committees? Okay. Okay. Okay, any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Wilchin,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Hudkins,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Amundson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
This seems like an appropriate time to note that if anyone is interested in serving on a variety of
Yes.
boards or commissions, they can go to our website or contact our office at 441-7447.
And we have many boards that people can serve on in a volunteer basis.
5O is appointments to the Aging Partners Area-wide Advisory Council. This is for Paul Barnett, term expiring June 30th, 2017. Stephen Eglin, term expiring June 30th, 2017. Harold Simpson, term expiring June 30th, 2018. Gloria Aaron, term expiring June 30th, 2018. Steve Wallin, term expiring June 30th, 2016. And Rebecca Minders, term expiring June 30th, 2016.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we approve these appointments. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Avery,
Yes.
Hudkins,
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin,
Yes.
Amundson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 6 is consent items. Right-of-way contracts between the county engineer and the following: Jeffrey and Monica Yoakum, Southwest 2nd Street and West Bennett Road, in the total amount of $36. Ronald and Lucille Heinrichs, Northwest 84th Street and West Bluff Road, in the total amount of $1,056. Edna Gertis Revocable Trust, Malcolm Road and Beckman Circle, Malcolm, Nebraska, in a total amount of $2,590.50. Terry Klug, Malcolm Road and Beckman Circle, Malcolm, Nebraska, in a total amount of $10. Sandra Allington, North 190th Street and Little Salt Road, in the total amount of $163. Moz Farms, Inc., South 162nd Street and Pioneer Boulevard, in the total amount of $217. Receive and place on file the following reports for May 2015. County Clerk, County Assessor, Register of Deeds, Records and Information Management, and Clerk of District Court.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent items. Please call the roll.
Yes.
Shore,
Yes.
Wilchin,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Amundson.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 7 is public comment. Those wishing to speak on items relating to county business not on the agenda may do so at this time.
You're-
We've got 2 speakers, so whoever wants to go first. Ray, you want to go first? You prefer? Why don't you guys go?
We're not that scary.
Okay.
Appears to work.
Larry's voice will carry anyway.
so.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
Known
you
you
very
for a long time.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Larry Nedrow. My wife Charlotte and I live in Waverly. I'm a former council member of that fine city. My appearance before you today is to request your leadership and oversight of a 2015 one-year road project known as project number C55-8-402 Parens 1, to which I will refer as project. In the information before you, document 1 is from the 2015 1 and 6 year road and bridge plan. Future reference to 1 and 6 year road and bridge plans will be stated as plan. The 2015 plan was approved by County Board Resolution R14-0080. In support of my request for your leadership and oversight, it is my opinion that the history of this project represents a sad example of inadequate executive leadership of both the Lancaster County Engineer's Office and the Lancaster County Board of Commissioners. While I understand that the county engineer is also an elected official, I believe the general supervision and control of county roads is vested to the county board by state statute. This is why I appear before you to request your help and guidance. The he said, she said syndrome surrounding the project is at a chaotic level, to the point that several of your constituents have claimed that they have been told the project is not going to be completed this year or perhaps ever. Hopefully that is not so. However, upon inquiry, I was informed yesterday by the county engineer and the purchasing agent for Lancaster County that nothing has been submitted by the county engineer to the purchasing agent for the gathering of project bids. What little I know about road construction tells me that if no bids have been accepted by now, the probability is 0 that construction will begin by July 1, 2015, the beginning of the fiscal year. The history of the project is, I believe, a sad story of broken promises, starts, stops, and potential waste of taxpayer money. I refer you to document 2, which is from the 2010 plan, the first document I could find online that referenced the project. Please note that the project was carried over from 2008. Document 3, also from the 2010 plan, shows that right-of-way for the project had been completed in FY 2009 at a cost of $168,002. Document 4 from the 2011 plan shows that an additional $285,068 had been expended in FY 2010 for grading and structures of the project. Please note that in the FY 2009 and 2010 timeframe, a total of $454,070 was spent in preparing the project for final paving. Document 5 from the 2012 plan shows the project listed in the 2013 through 2017 timeframe, no project activity. Document 6 from the 2013 plan shows the project listed in the 2014 to 2018 timeframe, no project activity. Excuse me. Document 7 from the 2014 plan shows the project listed in the 2015-2019 timeframe, no project activity. And finally, back to document 1 that shows the project scheduled to be completed in 2015. In conclusion, Commissioners, I offer that there is any number of reasons for the potential delay in completing the Bluff Road project. I respectfully request that you ask Mr. Kerry Egan to meet with me to further discuss known issues and to allow me to reappear at a later date as an item on the board's agenda. Thank you so very much for your kind attention, and I especially want to thank County Clerk and staff and Chairman Amundson for help. Thank you.
You bet. And thank you for those comments. We appreciate that. Larry?
Well, I've been watching this project for 28 years, and what is the problem? I gather we're looking at Bluff Road going east out of Waverly? And okay, what's the concern? believe it is scheduled
I
to
would,
be done this year.
I would offer, this is only my opinion, okay? I know that the engineer and the city of Waverly, and I believe at the hearing on approval for the plan, the Waverly mayor and the Waverly city administrator both talked about an interlocal agreement to share
the first quarter mile.
The talents of the county engineer to pave 4 blocks that are in the city. From 148th Street to roughly 152nd, I believe it is. And then the county would pave the other 2 miles. The interlocal agreement discussion became one that was expanded from the original description of the project. The original project was described as paving of 2 miles of county gravel road, that feeds to Camp Creek Threshers.
Are you saying paving with concrete or paving with
Your
asphalt?
language is paving. I'm told that paving can either be asphalt or cement. So
Correct.
I'm using the language that's in the plan. The discussion for the interlocal agreement now is in the county attorney's office, I believe. The city of Waverly has presented it several months ago to the county engineer, who I understand presented it to the county attorney's office. And there has been little, if any, that I know of project. I'm sure there's been, or progress, I'm sure there's been some discussion between county engineer and county attorney's office, but the city of Waverly has not received any response to that interlocal agreement. It has delayed all bids. It has delayed all progress on this project to the point where I seriously doubt in my own mind whether or not things could be completed. Now, my opinion again, the county engineer is trying to do a very good thing. Interlocal agreements are marvelous tools to share between government entities, but knowing after 30-some years of working with interlocal agreements, they're only as good as both sides being happy and both sides being satisfied. If that's not the case, then an interlocal agreement doesn't work. Well, in this case, the city of Waverly has decided that they want to involve turning lanes on 148th Street, even a turn lane into the cemetery or something to that effect. And so the county engineer, trying to, I assume, incorporate that and to help them out, has expanded the project as it has been designed and described for all those many years. And I think that discussion, Commissioner, I think goes back even beyond 2008. Maybe 30 years ago they even started talking about this. The biggest issue right now, in my own personal opinion, is that we've got to remember that Camp Creek Threshers I believe, has the highest traffic volume, second only to the county fair. It happens in July. This is a gravel road that creates humongous amounts of dust to the point that sometimes you won't have 10, 15 feet in front of you that you can see the car. There have been numerous accidents at the city intersection over the years because of the vision and so on. So that's a long-winded answer, and that's just my opinion of events.
Well, I'd like to follow that up, and thank you for bringing it to our attention, because I don't believe any of us were aware that there was a problem not going forth with it, because it has not been brought to our attention. I've been a county commissioner since 1987, and this has been one of my priorities all the time, because you're absolutely right. Not only does Camp Creek Threshers use that, but the Waverly School District, that's the main bus routes coming in there, and it's always been a dangerous road. And as far as we knew, it was scheduled to be hard surfaced this year. The prep work and everything, as you state, has been done. Have you discussed your concerns with Pam Dingman, our county engineer?
At great length.
Okay, and you're not receiving satisfactory...
I have gotten statements that there's a shortage of cement. I checked with local contractor, and they advised me there's no shortage at all of cement. There's shortage of work crews who want to lay the cement, but I was also told that cement now, in some cases, is cheaper than asphalt because of the price of oil. So conceivably, the project could be cement instead of blacktop for the same amount of money. And any number, but the primary reason giving is the interlocal agreement that, as I understand, resides in the county attorney's office.
Todd?
Well, and again, thank you for bringing this to the county board. I am aware of this. The county engineer, Pam Dingman, has brought this to my attention. Her and I have been trying to schedule a meeting with the leadership of Waverly. I know that there was some action taken a couple weeks ago at the city council relative to this project, but your assessment is correct. It really is a situation where it's the interlocal agreement. Because of the work, just as we all know, it has to be agreed to by both the city and the county. And so there have been issues that Pam has brought to my attention, and I have attempted, like I said, hopefully either later today or tomorrow, to meet with the engineer, the mayor of Waverly, and the city administrator. So it has been brought to my attention, and I apologize if I wasn't communicated to the rest of the board, but it came up last week, and there is a concern on the on Pam's, on the engineers, that there are issues with the interlocal.
And may I speak?
Yes, sure.
I followed this very closely because up until about 6 years ago, we were elected at large, not just by district. We had to live in a district, but our decision-making and our responsibilities were all over. So I've followed that for nearly 20 years. So, but the agreement is that first quarter of a mile, Waverly wanted to control how it was done. And after that, we were to pick up the cost. So whatever their decisions are within that first quarter mile, I think are theirs to make, but it has to be worked out as an interlocal agreement.
Just another personal observation, nowhere could I find in the plan any reference to any interlocal agreement, and the work, it was in the minutes at the public hearing that was held. As I said, the mayor and the city manager or administrator both mentioned it, but there's no description in any of the plans that I can see for any interlocal agreement. So any delay based on another factor is outside of the scope, in my opinion, of the plan.
Brittany Behrens, Deputy Lancaster County Attorney. The reason that nobody has seen the interlocal agreement is because there isn't a finalized interlocal agreement. Todd is talking about issues reaching an agreement with regard to the terms and conditions. So until the parties reach an agreement as to the terms and conditions, there are no terms and conditions. So there's no interlocal agreement to bring before either the Waverly City Council or the county board. So the county attorney's office drafted I personally drafted the original interlocal agreement that had our same terms and conditions that we use with the city of Lincoln and any other surrounding municipalities when we're going to join forces on a paving project. There are some specific issues and some engineering and design issues that were spoken of with regard to turn lanes and other things with regard to engineering. And those need to be worked out between the county engineer and the city of Waverly before the terms that they agree upon are then relayed to me, and we'll input those back into the interlocal agreement once the parties reach an agreement, and then we'll move forward. So until the two parties can sit down and have a meeting of the minds, you won't see an agreement before you.
We thank you for that explanation, because we were going to say if it's laying on your desk, why hasn't it been
No,
done?
I mean,
So thank you.
There's definitely some issues that the parties need to sit down and hammer out, and they're not legal issues. They are engineering issues with regard to how the project is going to be handled.
Could I have Thank you so much for allowing me to speak, but I have one question. Is the interlocal agreement and the paving of 148th to 152nd Street in the 1 and 6 year plan, described in the 1 and 6 year plan? And is it included in the $800,000 that is supposedly put aside by the county for that project.
This is a
What I'm
question-
suggesting is not the interlocal agreement delay outside of the scope of the description of the 1 and 6 year program. And that's why I'm to the board today. The 1 and 6 year plan, as you well know, is your plan. It's your signatures on that document, not the county engineers.
Just a general comment, the 1 and 6 year plan is always dependent upon funding and other issues that may arise with regards to design concerns or development concerns. It's just that, a plan. And a lot of questions that you've asked today, I think we need to have Pam here as part of that discussion. So I'd be interested in
That's
doing
why I asked
that
if
on
I could be as an item later on.
meeting following, you know, the meeting of the minds, and then possibly a Thursday staff briefing with Pam and her experts in the room too to address some of those issues. Okay.
And I would just point out that Pam and I have made several attempts. It's kind of a scheduling issue with the city of Waverly. There's the reason why we have
Who in particular, may I ask?
the mayor and the city administrator.
And neither one of them could find time to visit with you?
Pam's been very
And
busy.
yeah, I mean, Pam has been working on a recovery from a significant flooding issue. And so we tried to schedule it this week, but none of the times that Pam and I were able to schedule were available for the city of Waverly. And so
I tell you what, Larry, thank you so very much for coming. I appreciate that, and I think, you know, that what we have done here is we have uncovered an issue that we need to discuss, and this would be at more length than what we can really actually do here. We need the principals involved. And so I thank you for your time, and we look forward to speaking with you again.
After I get it resolved.
Okay.
Gary Aldridge, Lincoln, Nebraska. Public dialogue, ain't democracy beautiful? Brittany Behrens, glad to see you. Welcome back. Spurious, S-P-U-R-I-O-U-S. I'll come back to that. 13 Nebraska Revised Statutes 501 to 13 NRS 513 shall be known and may be cited as the Nebraska Budget Act. The Budget Act establishes and/or prescribes budget practices and procedures. The Public Building Commission, hereinafter PBC, is a taxing authority political subdivision. The PBC board is a strange political animal. The PBC board members never appear as ballot candidates on the PBC, for the PBC. Much like Frankenstein was made from here and there parts, the PBC is made of here and there officials, a hybrid, a joint public agency. Later today, PBC will accept support, opposition, criticism, suggestions, or observations from citizens. Public comment will be thin. PBC will then amend a budget. My plan is not to attend. Public comment I might offer would, I reasonably expect, not be accepted. Past is prologue. The PBC will amend a budget adopted in August 2014. It has taken 10 months, or so it seems, for someone, PBC staff or board member, to discover a $26.5 million budget problem. Oops. I am told this oops will not translate into a retroactive property tax increase. I am told the county checkbook has sufficient spare change to cover this $26.5 million oops. Good news and troubling news. Good news, the county bank account is healthy enough to float the money without a change to current property taxes. Troubling news, headlines only a month ago predict a hole in the county budget of $7.5 million. Inquiring minds might ask, is the county flush, or will it again beggar other accounts? A contradiction like that provided by a CPA on a balance sheet could be criminal. As Ricky would say, you got some splaining to do. The oops is divided between 1, a bond refunding, and 2, construction of at a public facility. The $26.5 million is, quote, unforeseen circumstances. $26.5 million is a 250% premium above the now current budget. If a business 10 months into an annual budget had actual expenses exceed programmed expenses by 250%, there probably would be some new faces in accounting and payroll. The unforeseen circumstances are in fact foreseen in, quote, this increase reflects 2 items, end quote. The first item is a bond refunding to, quote, improve the PBC interest rate, end quote. After that explanation, the PBC should stop. Just stop. Alas, it did not. A refunding strategy may be a shrewd use of P&I for both private or public P&I. The notice of hearing then adds a single word that is bizarre, baffling, inappropriate. That word is, quote, required. Quote, the process required the PBC to issue new bonds, end quote. I think not. For me to stay alive requires O2, H2O, C2H5OH. The PBC points a gun at its own head. Was PBC really in grave danger? Bonds, new or otherwise, are not placed without a fee. This is called mercenary, without the mercy.
You have 1 minute.
Thank you. The PBC agenda for 9 June 2015, in order of business, public hearing, approval, amendment to budget, adjourn public hearing. Quote, approval suggests an action. I suspect an affirmative action. PBC staff, board, legal counsel, outside consultants, and advisors know the budget amendment will be agreed to. This is a done deal. Perhaps most citizens will accept this action as not utter belize, or not utter ridiculous, or as not utter sham. For me, spurious is a very good word.
Mr. Gary, I would invite you, as I did last week, to sit down and visit with Dennis Meyer, our budget director for the county, and also invite you at 1:30 this afternoon at the Public Building Commission meeting in the next room, 113, where it will be an agenda item, and you'll have an opportunity to speak to it if you wish. It is mainly a refinancing that saves the taxpayers money.
Is number 8, announcements. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will not hold a staff meeting on Thursday, June 11, 2015, due to their attendance at a Nebraska Association of County Officials workshop in Kearney, Nebraska. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners will hold their next regular meeting on Tuesday, June 16, 2015, at 10:30 a.m. in room 112 of the County City Building, with the Board of Equalization immediately following. 441-7447 or commish@lancaster.ne.gov. The Lancaster County Board of Commissioners meeting is broadcast live. It is rebroadcast on Tuesday and Saturday on 5 City TV, Cable Channel 5. In addition, the meeting may be viewed on the internet at lancaster.ne.gov under 5 City TV, Video on Demand, or 5 City TV on YouTube.
Move we adjourn?
Second.
Move in second that we adjourn. Please call the roll.
Shore?
Yes.
Wilchin?
Yes.
Avery?
Yes.
Hudkins?
Yes.
Amundson?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Board of Commissioners meeting is adjourned, and now let's begin the Board of Equalization.
A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is located on the wall at the rear of the hearing room. Additionally, a copy of all written material to be discussed at today's open meeting is available from the county clerk staff. The material can also be viewed on the county's website at lancaster.ne.gov. Also in attendance this morning is Scott Gaines from the County Assessor's Office. Agenda item 1 are minutes of approval. The minutes of the Board of Equalization meeting held on Tuesday, June 2nd, 2015.
Move approval?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of the meeting. Any additions or corrections? Please call the roll.
Avery?
Yes.
Hudkins? Yes. Shore?
Yes.
Wilchin?
Yes.
Amundson?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 2 are additions and deductions to the tax assessment rolls.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we approve the additions and deductions to the tax assessment rolls. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Shore.
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Amundson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Number 3 is a public hearing for motor vehicle tax exemption applications for College View Academy, Cornhusker Council, Boy Scouts of America, and Great Plains Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church.
Okay, we'll open the public hearing for the motor vehicle tax exemption applications. Is there anyone to speak in support, in opposition, or in a neutral position? And seeing none, I will close the public hearing.
Move approval of the applications?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the exemption applications. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Shore.
Yes.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Amundson.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
We adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we adjourn. Please call the roll.
Wilchin.
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Hudkins.
Yes.
Shore.
Yes.
Amundson.
Yes. Okay, thank you for your time.
Hey, Dan.